Location: Starfire Base, Sahara Desert, Cloaked Zone. The boarding ramp lowered with a soft hiss, and a gust of warm desert air met them. But it wasn't the dry heat that made Susan stop at the top of the ramp. It was the view. Her breath caught. What lay before her was so bizarre that for a moment she thought she was dreaming. Walkways ran along transparent tunnels. Elevators glided along magnetized rails without wires. And everywhere, humanoid robots moved in perfect coordination. Some were tall and skeletal, built for heavy lifting. Others were smaller, designed for finesse tasks like welding, fitting, and analysis, and in the center of it all, the Starfire ship, still in construction, but already massive. Half of its hull curved like a blade, the other half layered in open scaffolding where plating hadn't sealed the frame yet. It hovered in place, unsupported, held aloft by a web of gravity anchors and magnetic stasis fields that shimmered in soft blue arcs. Susan stepped off the ramp slowly, eyes wide. This is a science fiction novel with $1 billion budget. Tony smirked. More like $1 trillion, but who's counting? She turned slowly, taking it all in. Cloaking panels shimmered above them, active camouflage tech embedded into the domed ceiling, reflecting the desert sky with such precision that, from above, it was invisible. There were gravity lifts embedded into the floor, silent conveyor lines shifting massive materials with no wheels or rails. Tony gestured casually. The robots are called hex cores. Fully autonomous and zero-latency coordination. Some of them have better reflexes than I do. Susan moved toward the railing and looked down as another platform ascended slowly, carrying a half-ton slab of alloy toward the ship's frame. These robots are working in perfect sync. No noise. No downtime. No egos, Tony added, stepping beside her. Everything runs off Hermes and Elena. The AIs coordinate task flow down to the microsecond. The only humans in this place are the ones I brought to do the things machines still can't. Like solve cosmic radiation mutation at a cellular level, she said dryly. Tony smiled. Exactly. And the main engine that I'm working on, in person. But there's only so much I can do alone, so it's taking some time. They walked along the upper platform. The floor adjusted beneath their feet, sensing their gait, stabilizing each step with microthrusters in the panels. No stumbling. No imbalance. I don't even feel the slope, Susan muttered. Is this a dynamic inertia compensator? Tony nodded. Good catch. Keeps the balance stable. Pretty nifty, right? They passed a row of stasis tubes, translucent cylinders with humanoid test frames suspended in fields of blue light. Biosuits. Pressure armor. Liquid nanite assemblies held in mid-form. This place is 50 years ahead of anything I've ever seen, Susan whispered. Maybe more. Tony stopped and gestured toward a large viewing window. Beyond it, the Starfire core glowed, bright white light humming from a central chamber where 3 rings spun around a floating prism of light. The heart of it all, Tony said quietly. Synthetic graviton engine. Runs on a giant arc reactor. The closest thing we've got to FTL without folding ourselves into spaghetti. But still a work in progress. Susan stared. You building this, here? Tony glanced sideways at her. It was either here, the moon, or underwater in a trench. The desert came with fewer fish and more sun. She turned to him, arms crossed, her voice hushed with disbelief. You really believe cosmic radiation holds the key to, what, human evolution? In theory, yes. But we'll know once we go up there and test it out in person, Tony said casually. Susan stood in silence for a few minutes, the soft hum of the reactor chamber pulsing beneath her boots like a second heartbeat. The glow from the graviton engine threw shifting patterns across her face, and for a moment, she let herself just feel the magnitude of what she was looking at. This wasn't a lab, this wasn't a simulation, this wasn't theory, this was real. Living, breathing science, made practical by someone reckless enough to chase the future and smart enough to build it. Her fingers gripped the railing tightly. She didn't notice at first, but they were trembling, because deep down, under all the analysis, the equations, the sleepless nights writing genetic protocols and chasing flawed mutations, this was it. This was the edge of what's known. The place where science ends and everything after becomes a question nobody else has the guts to ask. For months now, she'd been stuck in a loop. Study, test, fail, repeat. And every time she asked the institutions for help, they looked at her research like it was nothing but useless, too radical, too unconventional, too ambitious. They told her to narrow her scope, to think smaller, and now here was Tony Stark, changing the very concept of sanity with his bare hands and asking her to go with him. It scared her, but not in the way most people would think. It wasn't the ship or danger or the unknown. What scared her was how much she wanted it, how alive it made her feel just thinking about it. She turned slowly from the viewing window and looked at Tony. He was standing a few feet away, arms crossed, waiting, not pushing or persuading. Just waiting. Like he already knew what she was going to say. She stepped closer. "I've spent my whole life looking for answers," she said quietly. "Trying to fix what people say can't be fixed. Trying to give people a way out when the world tells them to just live with the hand they're dealt." Tony didn't say anything. He just watched her, eyes steady. Susan looked up at the massive ship once more. The blue light reflected off her glasses. "But every time I get close, the door slams shut. Not enough data. Not enough funding. Not enough time. But this is past the door. This is what's next." She exhaled slowly. Then looked back at him. "I'm in." Tony's lips tugged into a slow smile. "Good. But," she added, raising a finger, "I want full lab access. Total genomic autonomy. And I want 2 more people in the team." "Wow," he said without blinking. "Anything else?" Susan nodded. "One more thing." She stepped closer. "No surprises. I want to know everything. Every test. Every risk. I'm not walking into a suicide mission, and I'm not going to let you fly half-broken because your ego didn't want to share data." Tony gave a soft chuckle. "We just met today, and you want all access." "Huh. Very well, you want access, you gotta earn it. I showed what I can do, now your turn. I will give you resources and everything you need. So, show me what you can do in such a short time, in the upcoming expo. Create something groundbreaking. It'd take a huge sum of money and tech. You sure about that?" she asked. Her heart was hammering at this point. If she can get money and technology, maybe a better lab, then she should be able to complete the mutant cure. And? He raised an eyebrow. "Why trust me? Don't get me wrong, everything so far was like a dream. But as you said, we just met today. So, why the trust?" she asked. "Think of it as an instinct. Like, I can trust you." He took a step forward and looked into her eyes. "As for whether I am right or wrong, we'll know soon enough." "Okay. All right. Yeah, I can do it." Sue took a deep breath. "Can I get a pen and paper? You know, to make a list of things I need." Location: Susan Storm's private lab, New York. Time: 9:27 p.m., same day. Susan walked through her lab door, half expecting things to be as cluttered and half-dead as she left them. Burnt-out equipment, low storage alerts, and 3-day-old coffee mugs still clinging to the edge of her desk. What she got instead? A miracle. She stopped cold, mouth parting slightly. Everything had changed. The old desk was gone. In its place stood a sleek, custom lab bench etched with her initials and integrated with a fully interactive light-reactive display panel. The holographic table she'd been scraping together with duct tape and a second-hand projector? Replaced by a full StarkTech Omni frame capable of perfect gene modeling and environmental simulation rendering. The storage wall was restocked. Cryochambers. Enzyme freezers. 3 new analyzers she hadn't dared dream about owning. Bioscanners lined up on a rail that adjusted to her height when she stepped closer. And a completely new chemical synthesizer, top of the line, proprietary Stark design. She reached out and ran her fingers across the polished edge of the counter. Freakin' hell. This is like a dream workshop. Sue jumped up once in happiness. With a large smile, she once again took a look around. 3 custom sequenced viral delivery systems, 2 vials of inert X-gene scaffolding serum, a reinforced containment chamber, molecular rewriter prototype, Gen V, 2 AI-assisted genetic simulators, a private Stark cloud node link, plus 6 crates of lab consumables. Untouched and sealed, the upgrade of So Real. Then she walked toward the main computer and started it. She typed the password. The system greeted her by name as usual. It was just an early version of AI she created. But now, it looked like an upgraded version. Did he upgrade the AI too? She wondered. Well, whatever. As long as I get to create the cure. Welcome, Dr. Susan Storm. Project access verified. Full permissions unlocked, custom research suite, recode, online. She pulled up her notes. Then the genome models. Then she opened her old trial logs, and within seconds, the system converted them into an upgraded rendering format that highlighted previously undetected mutation shifts in red and instability markers in violet. Her failure rates had been caused by low-level protein stack mismatches in nearly all versions. She wouldn't have found that for months. Maybe never, but now she had a shot. Susan dropped into the stool, slid her gloves on, and activated the bioprinter. All right, she whispered. Let's work. She started fast, her mind already sketching out changes. The protein binders needed reinforcement. Carbon lattice scaffolding was now possible with the new hardware. She began adjusting the base sequence, adding a redundancy buffer, and testing new simulations in parallel. Her new AI assistant, built into the system, began rendering outcomes as she worked. The interface glowed with synchronized speed. **** trial 142, 68% stability. Trial 143, 81% stability. Trial 144, 89% stability. Neural harmony confirmed. ****. Her hand shook slightly. She laughed. A short, sharp sound that was half disbelief, half adrenaline. She adjusted a final nucleotide pair in the recombination strand. Run it again. It ran again. Still stable. Cross-test against the neuromutation cluster from trial 122. Still stable. She backed away, breath catching in her throat. It was working. It was actually working. The binder she'd theorized months ago, the one everyone dismissed as theoretical noise, was holding. And not only that, the Stark-enhanced systems were accelerating the simulations tenfold. What used to take days and sometimes weeks now takes 5 minutes. Location, Horizon Facility, Underground Lab Sector 7, time, 2:41 a.m. 2 days later, the lab lights activated as Tony stepped through the pressure-sealed doors, fresh from his return flight. He looked tired, hoodie halfway zipped, a protein bar in his hand, and a holoslate already scrolling in front of his eyes. The container sat at the center of the chamber inside thick glass walls, triple-sealed, filled with a swirling pool of dark silver metal. Liquid adamantium. It moved with an eerie, almost sentient rhythm, like mercury on steroids. The surface constantly shifted. "Welcome back, boss," Elena's voice echoed from the lab's central speaker. "Yelena's shipment arrived this morning. Batch 1, 82 liters. Temperature stabilized. No degradation. Looks almost alive." Tony thought. Tony didn't respond immediately. He moved closer to the container, watching the liquid swirl. When he approached, it pulsed faintly as if reacting to his proximity. He tapped a few controls and brought up the elemental scan overlay. "Let's see what makes you so special," he muttered. Elena projected the readout in front of him. The analysis scrolled fast. Molecular density, 4.3x denser than vibranium. Thermal resistance, absolute stability up to 11,000 degrees C. Impact displacement index, 97% energy redirection, residual kinetic memory, detected quantum structure, semi-adaptive crystalline layering, magnetogravitational conductivity, high radiation absorption, extreme level retention, no leakage. Tony raised his eyebrows at the last line and whistled. Absorbs radiation like a sponge and doesn't bleed it out. Perfect for ship hulls, or armor. Elena spoke again. Also, I've run a simulation, taking all its properties into account. The metal you've been looking for all this time to build the Model 50 suit. This is it. The scans match early-stage symbiote resonance patterns. Tony blinked. Interesting. Looks like celestial blood is really different from man-made metal. So much potential. Well, time to create new gen nanites. Time, 5:46 p.m., 6 days later, the entire chamber had been cleared out. The usual lab clutter was gone. There were no open benches, no scattered tools, no coffee mugs or datapads left behind. Just one thing sat in the center now, a raised platform with a containment rig glowing in soft blue pulses. Around it, suspended in magnetic fields, floated billions of microscopic units. Tony's newest creation. It wasn't easy, but thanks to his mind stone in his head, it became too easy. The reason it took so much time was due to the mass production of the nanites. Now, it's time to see the result. Legion, Tony said, stepping onto the platform, wearing nothing but a black interface suit beneath his hoodie. You ready? All subroutines are active. Nanite formation matrix is synchronized. Awaiting your command, Legion replied, its voice steady and focused. Tony exhaled slowly and raised his hand. The air shifted, billions of liquid metal fragments began to ripple in place. At his gesture, they surged forward, drawn to him like a magnetic tide. The Ironman Mark 50 suit runs without an arc reactor by utilizing a combination of advanced technology and nanotechnology. It's designed to be self-contained, with a built-in power source, and also includes features like supercapacitor batteries and a powerful inertial dampener system. But in case of an emergency, it can run on an arc reactor. Begin armor sync. Override defaults. Full neural tether, Tony said, stepping into position. One by one, the nanites latched onto his suit interface. At first, it was just a shimmer around his chest. Then his arms. Then his spine. The liquid crawled across him like living circuitry, flowing into shape, hardening, flexing, adjusting, and then it snapped together, chest plate first, then the shoulders, forearms, and boots. The helmet came last, folding over his face in smooth panels that locked together with a sound like magnetic locks slamming shut. The HUD came alive. Model 50 active armor core, natural adamantium/symbiotic nanite system, energy balance, 100% subsystem status, all green. Tony flexed one hand. The armor shifted with him, like a second skin without any lag. Lighter than vibranium, tougher than anything else on Earth. And silent. Not a single servomechanical hum. Legion, give me full diagnostics. Power response. The nanites flared. Energy flowed through the suit like electricity through nerve endings. Response time, 0.0005 seconds. Synaptic sync, 100%. No latency. Tony took a slow step forward. The nanites shifted with his movement, adjusting the tension in his legs, redistributing energy. He jumped. Landed. Pivoted. Spun in midair and landed again with a thud that cracked the reinforced platform, and the suit hadn't even activated its kinetic dampening. Run combat systems, he said. Weapons formed instantly. A shoulder railgun snapped into place on his left side. A plasma blade slid out from the right wrist. 2 pulse repulsors charged silently in his palms. But none of them looked rigid. Everything was alive, formed of flowing metal, shifting and breathing with his movement. Ha ha ha. Hell yeah. Tony was satisfied with his creation. System fusion is stable, Legion confirmed. Weapons array can form over 2,700 loadouts. Adaptive combat prediction is online. Activate loadout 2, Tony said. Instantly, dozens of weapon formations spiraled out around him. These weapons exist without being attached to the suit: drones, laser cannons, tendrils, sonic guns, and independent energy arrays. Tony thought of retracting them, and instantly they vanished, slipping back into the armor like water disappearing into the sea. There was no lag at all. He stood silent for a moment. He didn't speak. He just closed his eyes. He could feel it. Every micron. Every signal. The suit was more responsive than he imagined. It was intuitive. Like it wasn't just listening to him, it was him. "This is it," he said softly. He opened his eyes, looked at his reflection in the containment wall: silver. Organic curves. It was perfect. He deactivated the armor with a simple thought. The nanites dissolved back, dispersing into the interface suit beneath. Next, Tony began the next phase of his development. "Hermes," Tony said. "If we're walking into solar flares, asteroid fields, or God help us, a gravitational pinch near a neutron star, we're gonna need suits. Space-rated. Vacuum-hardened. Modular. Spec sheet. Fast. Lightweight. Autonomous re-entry protocol. Full life support. Radiation shielding, personal propulsion system, limb-lock feedback response, auto-seal hull tear recovery, and neural sync compatibility with my nanite grid." Understood. Initiating build sequence. Blueprints began forming in the air: humanoid armor silhouettes, modular back units, oxygen cycling systems, reinforced helmet lattices. Tony pointed to the third design. "That one. Start with that. That'll be the base model for the team. Let's call it the Solar Frame Type 0. Hours later, Prototype Bay, 3 suits now stood on hydraulic lift plates, each shimmering with adaptive materials. Their base color was silver and dark graphite, but the plates shifted faintly as if unsure which spectrum of light to reflect. Tony walked past each one, eyeing their details. Type 0, standard tactical. Built for EVA and combat. Smart fiber musculature and grav anchors in the boots. Type 0V, a variant model meant for high-speed orbital entry. Wing arrays. Microshield emitters. More like a space fighter than a suit. Type 0R, reinforced heavy unit. Meant for carrying loadouts or protecting non-combatants. Its shoulders were broader, its limbs thicker, and its processor cores doubled for field repair modules. Status? Tony asked. Hermes answered. Type 0 series ready for remote calibration. Diagnostics at 96.3% functional stability. Life support endurance, 23 hours. Radiation resistance at 7.6x planetary baseline. Tony raised an eyebrow. Not bad for 2 shifts and 0 overtime. Alright, combine them in a single suit with the mode option. Create 10 suits. Affirmative, Hermes replied. Then he turned toward the last project, the one nobody else was allowed to touch. A dream project, the mech study has been working on these babies for some time now. But with the new gen nanites, all he had to do was put the model info in, and the nanites would do the rest. It took 30 minutes to complete the procedure. On the far end of the hangar, 3 gantries slowly rotated as the lights came on. Each held something monstrous in size and design, 25-foot exoframes built with both humanoid and hybrid configurations. They were designed for combat and terrain that didn't care about physics. These were Titans. Tony walked up to the nearest one, resting a hand on the cool plating of its leg. A glowing blue Stark insignia pulsed beneath the armor like a heartbeat. "Let's start with Titan 1, he muttered. Titan 1, design notes: height, 8.2 meters, core material, hybrid adamantium alloy cockpit, neural link pod weaponry, twin pulse cannons, shoulder railguns, deployable hard light shield, gravitic sledge unit power source, arc core XL, modified feature, auto-adaptive nanites." Behind him, Titan 2 and Titan 3 were more specialized. Titan 2 was bipedal, with arms capable of transforming into excavation tools, carrying gear, or clearing debris in zero-G environments. An industrial-grade support mech with defensive upgrades. Titan 3 was leaner, designed for atmospheric flight and re-entry. Think fighter jet with legs. Antimatter sensor rig on its back and a deployable recon drone hive in its chest. Tony took a deep breath, looking at the towering figures. This is overkill, he admitted out loud, then he smirked. Gonna blast some shit off with these babies. He stepped onto the platform as the AI activated the gantry arms, slowly prepping the first mech for test runs. Within minutes, Titan 1's chest opened like a vault. A pod lowered, waiting for him. Legion, sync me up. Minimal neural threshold. No full immersion yet. / link established. Ready for dry simulation. / Tony climbed in. The moment the hatch sealed, everything changed. The HUD lit up. His arms moved, and the mech responded instantly. Every twitch, every motion. A delay so small it might as well not exist. Outside, the floor shuddered as Titan 1 took a step, then another, and then it ran across the hangar at a speed no machine of its size should have been capable of. Yup, Tony said, grinning. We're gonna need a bigger runway. Back in Horizon Command, Natasha walked into the control room, coffee in hand, and glanced at the live feed. She watched Tony sprinting across the test field in a mech that looked like it could punch through a bunker, then he slipped and rolled on the ground before the propulsion system activated, and the mech flew like a rocket, crashing into the ocean. Ha! Elena, you did record that, right? She smirked a little. Yes. Everything is being live recorded all the time, no worries, Elena replied. Are you perhaps thinking of using that particular accident footage to blackmail boss for a kiss or sex? What the hell is wrong with you? Natasha said as her eye twitched. Interesting. Human emotions are too complicated. Forget I said anything, Elena replied. Her tone was like she was analyzing Natasha's behavioral pattern. According to Elena's records, Natasha did actually use an embarrassing situation a few weeks back to get a couple of kisses from Tony behind the training hall. There was a moment of pause before Tony flew out of the water and took a spin around the sky. He's building giant robots now, she muttered. What's next? A robot that can transform? Elena's projection flickered beside her. I believe the term he prefers is combat frame, but yes. Technically accurate. And yes, the next project is a transformer jet. Natasha raised an eyebrow. Should I be worried? Elena smiled faintly. Only if we run out of metal.